there are certain topics that if somebody brings up, it is not going to be good for our relationship. And I have to realize nobody's going to help me change my mind, and I'm not going to help change anybody else's mind over the turkey dinner.
Right.
That's just not the place for it. This needs to be a place where we connect as a family, not try to convert the people who are sitting around.
Welcome to the Focus on the Family broadcast, helping families thrive.
Hey, John, last time we started what I believe was a tremendously helpful conversation for those who feel overwhelmed by relationships, especially during the Christmas holiday season. And I loved what Kathy and Sherry shared about last time, that importance of making it a point to pre-decide how you're going to respond before you're in the situation, and you respond out of the emotion of the moment rather than out of what God would want you to do. And we're going to give you, I think, wonderful tools to be able to better manage the chaos of this holiday season. Kathy and Sherry, welcome back to Focus.
Always great to be here.
Thanks for having us back.
Now, we ripped it open yesterday and started talking about all those painful moments, the in-laws, husband gets on your nerves, all those great details. And if you missed it, I would download it or get the smartphone app so you can listen to it at your leisure. But it's a wonderful conversation we started and very real. I appreciate that. I think that's one of the disservices we can do in Christian communication is we kind of go with perfect and everybody's going, I don't live there. And so you guys always bring that wonderful heart of imperfection. That's a compliment, by the way. That is a compliment.
We'll take it as such.
And let's start there. For those who didn't hear the program last time, describe what being overwhelmed during this time of year looks like and feels like.
Well, I think the keystone feeling for me is feeling like it should be easier. It just should be. It seems like everybody else, they've got it under control. Their kids rise up and call them blessed.
Sorry.
Exactly, right? And everybody's family gets together and they agree on everything. And by the way, I'm an excellent cook. And so I can just put this feast on the table and nobody has to help out. And I can have those fantasies, in August, but as November and December land on me, I realize, my family, we have these points that are stressful, and then I'm not as good as I think I am when it comes to all the cooking and all that kind of stuff. And why isn't anybody helping me, even though I didn't ask anybody to help me? And the overwhelm
That's good
can
right
get
there.
The overwhelm can get to every area, and you feel like not only am I failing, but I'm in this boat alone.
Now, Sherry, I don't mean to put you on the spot, but being the firstborn daughter, do you have a little bit inside of you that says, well, I'm close to perfect in that way. I get things done.
I am a getter-doner, but my mother was a home economics major. And so
There's just no relief for you.
There's just no way I could ever. And she had a double oven. I finally figured that out last year. I could never get hot foods on the table hot and cold on the table cold. And my brother reminded me she had a double oven. I don't. I'm like, well, there we go.
Nowadays it's a triple oven.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
I'm kidding. I don't know.
Yeah. But, I think part of this is realizing I don't actually like to cook unless there's a lot of people in the kitchen with me. And because I'm a collaborative person. And so when I started realizing, hang on, I'm in the kitchen all by myself. Everybody else is out someplace else having fun. I'm in here feeling persecuted, but I have to do it this way because it's the way we've always done it. It was so helpful to realize, let me figure out who could help me with different dishes. And it turned out my daughter wanted to learn how to make the tabbouleh. My son wanted to learn how to make the baklava. And so I started divvying up some of the dishes and inviting them. I think this is so important, is we have it all in our head. We don't ask for help. We don't let other people know the expectations. And we think our expectations are the only ones in the room. And I also found out of all the things because I actually did start cooking all the foods from my husband's side of the family and all the foods from my side of the family. So like 20 dishes all for the same meal. And we finally sat down and said, let's talk about what we really need. Let's all talk about what it really takes to make this a good holiday.
Sounds like the Mediterranean diet is where you landed.
Yeah, well, we did. Yeah. But what it turned out is that what my kids wanted is they wanted a mom who was present and happy.
Yeah.
They didn't care about anything else. They wanted mom to be a lot less stressed.
I want to kind of put a little more emphasis on this idea of expecting people to do more without asking them to do more. Because I think every woman's going, and men too, are saying, wow, yeah, I do that.
Yeah.
How do you catch yourself to be fairer to that person? I mean,
Oh,
here we build up this bitterness and resentment, and they're not mind readers.
Okay, it's all time and expectations. This is a common theme for us. And so what I finally did is, because I have people in my family who want to help, but I'm in such a mode, it's hard for me to say, yes, go make the fruit salad, when it's just easier to do it myself. Because
Is it easier? Is there a little bit of pride there? If I can get it all done, then it shows how efficient, effective, and
I'm
wonderful
very low
I
on
am.
the pride angle, but I
Well, I mean,
understand
for
for
some
other
people,
people, yes. And there are
Sherry's
some
shaking her head yes.
Well,
No,
there are
that's
some
fine. I
people
love it.
who are
We're
known
all
for
wired
their pumpkin pie.
Right.
And it would be sacrilege in the family for anybody but Aunt Betty to do the pumpkin pie. Let Aunt Betty do her thing. That's great. But in my house, it's like putting the cheese plate together. And so now what I've got is I have a list. I call it my help list.
Okay.
And so I think through at least a day before, maybe it's 2 days before, what is anything that anybody else could possibly do. And so putting the cheese plate together, unloading the dishwasher, walking the dog. We live in a townhouse, so the dog needs to be walked twice a day. And somebody else can be doing that while I'm basting the turkey. And so I put together that whole list. And this is going to sound crazy, Martha Stewart. I don't care. It helps me, and so it makes me happy. I put all the cheeses that need to go on that cheese plate in one bag and says, there's the cheese plate. And by the way, I don't care what the cheese plate looks like at the end.
Okay, now you're talking my language.
Yeah, as long as there are carbohydrates and cheese products on a plate, my family's happy.
I am typically the cheese plate preparer.
Ooh.
Yes. Now, are
Yes.
you given very specific instructions,
No.
or do you just get to go wild?
I think I actually have a little knack for
You have a
display.
flair.
Does it well already.
Yes,
Oh,
yeah,
you've got
Gene
a
buys the
natural
cheese,
talent.
but it's just me cutting them, and I
Yeah.
might even put little pickles around and relish.
Look at that. I mean, and you have found your spot. Well,
John's puckered face.
Pickles on a cheese
Well, you know,
plate.
like little pickles, and
Sure,
you put
why
other
not?
stuff
Yeah.
on there too.
and by the way, there is somebody in your family who will be the hero and say, it's for me, it's my daughter Kimberly. Now, my husband will help all the time. He's great.
I
But
hear a little hesitance there.
What do you mean?
Yeah, he'll help all the time, but not very helpful
no,
at all.
No. Here's what I'll say about what I've learned. Roger will do anything that I don't tell him telepathically. I have to actually tell him with my mouth, hey, it would be great if you unloaded the dishwasher. Hey, can we
We have
say-
just moved into marriage advice.
Yeah, but it's true. It's marriage saving advice. But when I'm like, he's just standing there, doesn't he know that the dishwasher needs to be emptied? And I finally, after 15 years almost of marriage, realized, no, he doesn't. It's never occurred to him that the dishwasher needs to be unloaded.
Everybody's overwhelmed in different ways. That may
Right.
be most guys going, I don't even know where to start here.
Right. And he doesn't want to do the wrong thing that then will set me off. Like, why are you out cleaning the barbecue? That does not help me.
Because it's outside the house.
Right. And so to have somebody like Roger, if he'll say, give me a list and I'll make it all happen. And that is brilliant. My daughter, Kimberly, she's the one who will come over and say, if you need me to clean the bathroom, if that's what's going to serve you best, Mom, I know. And we're sitting here, our little hearts are beating as moms. But, there are other people, I would never ask my mom to come over and clean my bathroom.
Right. Her day is done.
Right,
She doesn't need
exactly.
to do
She is
She
now
did
the
her
queen
time.
bee. Yeah, she still helps, but let's give her fun
that.
projects.
What about, and there's going to be this kind of situation too. You got the teenagers that are
Yeah.
like, yeah, okay, whatever. And then they struggle getting it done. I
Right.
have been on you for 2 hours
Yeah.
to do this.
Yeah.
What do you do there?
Well, I think sometimes you have to have somebody else be the enforcer.
Like you don't work, you don't eat?
I would say more of the whole, maybe from in our family, Dad's the enforcer. Like, he's the one who says, hey, we're all doing this to get ready
That's
for
good.
people coming over to our house.
Come on, pitch in.
Yes, exactly. And the things that are critical, those are going to be left up to the adults. Let's just make sure of that. I don't want to be in a knockdown drag out with my kids on the day. So the other thing I try to do is say, okay, I have a kid who loves to bake. So let's put Jeremy on the cakes. Let's have him do that. But my other son, his whole philosophy is why stand when you can sit, why sit when you can lie down.
Right.
And so I'll say, hey, Justin, I would love for you to pick out all the music for today because that
Oh,
just
he'd be into that.
He would be totally
Yeah.
into that. And then, I have a daughter who loves to decorate. So could you go cut all the flowers out of the garden and make sure that we look good here, or you set the table? Find what they would naturally be good at and ask them and say, you know what, it's just not going to be the same if you don't participate.
Have you had enough time now over the last few years to actually develop a list where it's become more routine, where you just kind of tape it to
I
the
have
cabinet?
spreadsheets.
Yeah,
I literally-
spreadsheets.
Yeah, but
That might be a little much, but
But
Oh,
I think a lot of it is we think this should all come naturally. Like, it happens every year. I should remember. Oh my goodness. But when you make the list and you've got it saved on your computer and you keep adding to it each year and you tweak it just a little bit, it is such a comfort to bring it up. And a lot of stuff can be done in October.
right.
A
But
lot of
now
stuff
here
can
we
be
are in
done
November,
early.
so the advice you would have is to take a deep breath, get through this year, and let's aim for next year.
And then write down everything you did,
Exactly.
Right.
so that you can repeat it for Christmas.
Those things that you liked.
Yes, exactly.
Not everything you did.
Right.
Yelled
So-
at grandmother.
Yeah. Oh,
Don't
no.
write that down.
Don't write that down. But yeah, to keep track. And I know Thanksgiving is happening, but I would say a bad list is better than no list. So even do the back of an envelope and say, here are the 10 things that we need to get done, and here are the 3 people I can ask, and do that list right now. Do not get up from where you are sitting right now listening to this. Make the list now.
Okay, what about this situation where I've seen this happen with the daughter-in-law wants to help out, but it's never going to be done properly. How do you cut through that? So let's flip it around and say, we want to be with family and we want to help them, but they don't want our help the way we do it.
Well, I think it depends on if you're the mother-in-law or the daughter-in-law. And then the husband also has a role to play in all of this. So as a mother-in-law, which I am, to a wonderful young man, Sean, I want to honor his contributions because he's as much a part of this family as I am, just because we've been hanging out longer together. So he brings a new aspect to things, and I want to be able to honor that. And so as I have a daughter-in-law, I hope I'll be able to do that as well, to be able to say, you are welcome here. We want to find out more about you. And if she says, in our family, we have cranberry cheesecake every single year, could I bring that? I want to be the kind of person that says the more the merrier. We want to honor that. If you're the daughter-in-law and you're not feeling accepted, it's time to have a conversation with your husband and just say, what's our best strategy here? How's the best way for me to honor your mom in this? Because you're not trying to usurp her authority. You're not trying to kick her out. You just want to say, hey, I want to do, and maybe it's in a small way. Maybe it's a small contribution instead of saying, okay, well, in our family, we did these 6 things, and so I want to bring them to your family. That could be overwhelming. So let's say, is there a small way you can do it? But I'm hoping that the mother-in-laws out there are saying, it may not be done the way I would do it, but that just brings something new and fun to our family. And so we have to approach both ends of this with grace and putting the other person in front of us and honoring each other in the relationship.
And you talk about the husband being involved. Now you got to give us the instruction.
Okay,
what are we
yes.
doing with this information
Yeah.
once we get it?
There are conversations that my husband can have with his mom and that he can have with me that only he can have.
So he has to play that negotiator role.
Right. But you know what? What he's trying to do is honor both of these important
Yeah.
women in his life. But let's be clear, his job is to protect his wife. And so he wants to honor his mom. I want to honor his mom. And so I need to tread lightly in those situations. But Roger's going to be the one who says, Mom, we need to make some space. It's not just about us anymore. And I know you love Kathy. So how do we make room for Kathy?
Yeah.
I can't have that conversation with my mother-in-law, but she can have it with her beloved Roger.
Yeah. Sherry, the self-care, we touched on it lightly last time, but we didn't really drill into it. It's like the last thing on the list at this time of year. I mean, really? Seriously? Self-care? What are you talking about? You take a walk? What? I don't have time for that.
Well, first of all, I think so many women feel like self-care is selfish and as if we're only focusing on ourselves. The thing about true self-care is when we When we practice self-care, then we can truly take care of other people. Because if we're wearing down, if we're getting sick because we haven't been taking care of ourselves, then the whole holiday season is going to be worse for everybody. So
What does it look like? Tick off some things that you need to think about.
I know it's going to sound hard to do, but making sleep a priority, at least in our household, if we haven't had our sleep, that's when we start snapping at each other.
So guilt-free sleep.
Yes,
Yeah.
it's not lazy. It's absolutely necessary. It needs to be a priority. And then for those of us who are either introverts or ambiverts, when we're at a family gathering, I mean, I've given myself permission, because nobody's going to look at me and say, Sherry, you look like you're overwhelmed. You look like you need 5 minutes in a darkened room with the lights out all by yourself.
That could be a scary comment.
Or I'll even, yeah. By that point, I probably need half an hour. But, or just go take maybe they're out of butter and I can go run to the store and have a little bit of time away from all the hustle and bustle to come back. But just even for me, knowing that I'm going to take the responsibility to take that time rather than try to make it through the entire time, because for introverts we're drained by so many people, and to recognize that and to say, I'm not going to blame them, I'm not going to make it their fault, they don't have to turn down the music today, I'm going to be the one who says I'm going to take the break.
In that regard, your husband, this is normal or typical, but it's not always true, and I recognize that, but your husband may be more extroverted then, because usually opposites attract, not always, but...
We're an unusual couple.
Okay.
In many
Well,
ways.
in that regard, though, in the most usual
Sure.
of ways, when you have an extrovert, introverted person, how can that extrovert be more aware of that? That it is draining to an introvert to be around a lot of people. So what can you say that makes sense?
I'm an extrovert, and I have many introverts in my family. And Roger is an introvert. And so sometimes I'll say, hey, babe, would you be able to go work on something upstairs for me for just a few minutes? And that's my key to say, I understand the kids are making, it's too much for you.
You're doing
right
it
now.
for him.
I'm doing it for him.
Wow.
And then I have a son who has social anxiety issues. And so he and I have a prearrangement that, one, you come for 45 minutes and then you decide whether you want to stay or not. When he was living at home, it was 45 minutes. I asked him to participate and then go to your room for a while. Go read a book or go watch a movie. And then when you feel like you've got that reserve built up, you can come back. For a long time, I was the guilt mom who said, your grandmother's here. You need to be here. But what I've come to,
I can hear that.
Yes, but what I've come to understand is he's better for grandma when he is honored for who he is. And being an introvert and having social anxiety, I need to be able to say, you get to have a break because you're a better you when you come back.
No, that's good. In the book, you mentioned this idea of crisis creators. And I want to spend some time here because I think this is a well of wisdom. Define crisis creator, and then let's get into some of the descriptions of people during Christmas and the holiday season. They do things that, really disrupt the events.
I think the perfect one to talk about at the holidays is the self-sabotager. And this is the person who has the idea that basically they're going to remodel the house before the holidays.
So this is a crisis creator.
Yes, this is a self-sabotager who says, I've got these crazy over-the-top ideas, and I don't care if it kills me and everybody around
We're
me.
going to remodel the house for the holidays.
Exactly. Exactly. I've got this list of 1,000 things that need to be done, and I want, and here's the thing. There are some people who can transform their house. They just have that gene. They're the people who are the decorators and things like that. But when mere mortals get those ideas, what we're doing is we're killing ourselves and we're killing everybody around us. And we think we're just doing it to ourselves. But what Sherry was saying earlier is so true. When her kids say, we want to have a mom who's present. And I think that it's so easy to think about, am I trying to make an impression this Christmas, or am I trying to make inclusion my priority?
So how do you deal with the self-saboteur?
Yeah. So I think as a woman, I will say, I love to make things beautiful. That makes me super happy. I love to make food that's wonderful, but I have to pick one or two things. I have to pick something that I'm going to excel at. And then the rest of it, we can figure it out. So we just did, this was our most low-key Christmas we've ever done in our entire lives. And we did two things that we just turned it on its head. We didn't have any of the traditional food. We did something called raclette, which is kind of a Swedish fondue where you grill meats and you grill cheeses and things like that. So we did that. And then our main activity, we called it Christmas Trivia Bingo. And so we got $10 and $15 gift cards, and we played bingo, and it was something that was so easy for everybody to be included in. Dinner was DIY because we set out the cheese and the meat and the stuff, and we said, go for it. Everybody loved it. We kept it simple. And here's the thing. Am I looking at am I impressing people or including people?
Yeah.
And what's the holiday that people are going to remember when they felt loved and included? And we had people there from different faith backgrounds, different relationship backgrounds. We had a blast.
Yeah, and DIY, do it yourself.
Right.
Okay, I got a simpler meal plan for you.
Do it.
It's called delivery pizza and all the football you can watch.
Okay. That may not be as inclusive as you might imagine.
I've not
Which
had.
crisis creator is that?
Yeah, probably the selfish one.
Yeah. And then there are others, the whiner, the person who is just going around and picking out everything. When you say, oh, I'm so disappointed because it wasn't like it was last year or 2 years ago or 4 years ago.
Oh, this is good.
When your common theme is I'm so disappointed, you may be a whiner. I'm just going to say. And so the people who are not participating but are complaining, that is a crisis creator. So I think if you're the one who's hosting and you know that person is a crisis creator and they're the ones who are whining, I think this is a great clarifying question. What's going to be important to you this holiday that's actually doable? We can't recreate the Christmas from 10 years ago, but is there a dish that would make you super happy?
Now, how do you do that without saying in no uncertain terms, you're a whiner and I'm here to try to make you happy?
You know what? I think you're saying, hey, I know the holidays can be really stressful for all of us, and sometimes things get missed. Is there something that would be really important to you this year that I could make happen? And if it's a certain dish, they want to make sure, like for my dad, it was the cranberry jelly that came in the shape of the can. To him,
that is sufficient.
Yeah, that was so important to him. I did not know that cranberries were actually berries until I was in my 30s.
You thought it was a gel.
I thought it was just this gel sauce.
But you can smash it so it doesn't have the can shape.
Oh, no.
That's
because
part
then,
of the beauty of it.
Then how could my dad slice it off and put it on his stuffing?
Oh, so he really loves the can shape.
Yes, that was very important to him. And so when I tried to get all fancy.
And crush the can shape.
I thought, what if we had real cranberries and what if we cook those?
No.
I rocked his world.
Yes.
Yeah. And so he wasn't a whiner about it, but it's also something that if you have somebody who says it's not Christmas without, have them pick one thing.
Well, that all touches on the idea of the crisis creators and what they look like. So be on the lookout and figure out a strategy is what you're saying. Also, you encourage people to determine the big deals and the deal breakers, like you differentiate between the two. What are you getting at?
Big deals are things that are recurring but are manageable. Deal breakers are going to be the kinds of things where if it happens once, okay. If it happens a second time, there's going to be some really serious conversations. In both cases, these aren't problems that are solved. They're what Dr. Cloud would call a pattern. They keep showing up over and over again, and having normal conversations isn't solving them. And so for the big deals, you're going to have some family conversations and you're going to make some family decisions about how to respond to them. For the deal breakers, that's going to be something where there's going to be some of the hard conversations and some of the harder decisions, including maybe not showing up for that family.
Fill in the blanks for
anymore.
me. Give me examples of both.
Well, I think that if you have family members who are disrespectful to either your husband, your kids, or somebody that you have been charged by God to protect, and you've had the conversation, and the behavior is not changing. And so I have kids who have taken different routes in life than I would have necessarily chosen for them, but we may disagree, but we still need to be respectful. And so I think that that's really important. When there's been patterns of abuse, whether it's emotional, physical, whatever that is, and it's not changing. I think that we have to draw the line there. We have families who are from different backgrounds, and sometimes we've experienced racial slurs in our family, and we've addressed this several times, and we've had to say we cannot be around those type of things. As Christians, we have to take a hard line to sin.
So have courage.
And have the courageous conversation first. The courageous conversation says, I love you, I want to spend time with you, but this is something that we can't partake in.
You guys, this has been so fun. I hope you, the listener, have not only enjoyed this, but it's touched some points of reality for you during the Christmas holiday season, that it's just part of family life. I mean, this is a fallen world. We're all sinners saved by grace. And the key here is, how do we honor the Lord during the season of his birth? Yes. And, Thanksgiving of this nation, and New Year's as well. Kathy and Sherry, thanks for being with us.
Oh, thank you
so much.
Hey, I'm John Fuller, and thanks for watching. Get more info about Focus over here and more from our guests over there, and be sure to subscribe to our channel as well.